Hi, I'm Epokk from Game Guide, and today we're going to be talking about how to defeat the fourth boss in Valheim called MODER, the Large Wyvern. Just exactly as my previous guides for the three earlier bosses, Eikthyr, the Elder, and Bone Mass, we're going to be dividing this guide into three different sections. First off, we're going to be talking about the Mountains Biome, how you can survive the harsh climate, which kind of mobs you can find there, how to deal with them, and just how you can find some materials there to prepare for the fight. Afterwards, we're going to be talking about how to find him, summon him, and lastly, how to kill him. The biome where we will find MODER is in the Mountains Biome. Now, the Mountains Biome is pretty much one of the more difficult ones in my opinion, for the very simple reason that it has a freezing effect whenever you enter it. What that means is that you will have a debuff that will reduce your health every 2 seconds by about 1 HP. To overcome this, there are multiple ways. Now, first off, you can just build a fire in the mountain region, and then you will not take any damage because the freezing effect cannot take any place if you are buffed with a fire, but that will only last for so long. The most ideal way is either by getting frost resistance gear that you can only craft with materials that are obtainable in either the mountains region or the plains region, or you can craft frost resistance meat, which is personally my favorite way to tackle this. By placing the regions on the screen right now in the cauldron, you can create a meat preparation and just place that in one of the fermenters, and after a certain number of in-game days will give you about 6 meats that will give you 10 minutes of frost resistance. It's the easiest way to enter the mountains because the regions are very easily made and you just need to spend some time in game. So while you're building or exploring or whatever, the fermenter can do its work, and before you know it, you will have the required frost resistance meat. Now, the Mountains Biome is really worth exploring for the very simple reason that you can find there the silver veins. Now, silver vein you can find by equipping the wishing bone that you received by killing Bone Mass, and just use that kind of like a metal detector, just run around in the Mountains Biome, and when the green glow just keeps ringing really repeatedly at one specific spot, then you just go mine down there and you will find some silver veins that you can turn into silver bars and just make some really great gear with it. I highly suggest crafting the chest piece and the cape first, because only those two items will give you frost resistance, and you will no longer need the frost resistance meat to survive in the mountains. Now, the mountains are inhabited by a number of specific enemies, so these are either going to be the wolves that attack in masses. You also have the drakes, which are flying serpents that you can shoot down with your arrows. They are not that bad and their attacks are really easy to dodge. You also can find the Fenrir there at night. Those are the werewolf-like animals. They pretty much have the same attack patterns as a wolf, and they aren't that hard in my opinion, as long as you have a shield to block their attacks with. And of course, you also have the stone elementals, which are the worst ones in my opinion, for the very simple reason that stone elementals have a giant health pool. They have quite a decent damage output, so they can really destroy you really easily, but they also take increased damage from mining pickaxes. But I still prefer the one-handed mace for the very simple reason that you can do more attacks before you need to dodge his attacks once again. Now, MODER is probably my least favorite boss for the very simple reason that I had a really hard time finding him. Now, the way that you find him is you're going to be scouring all the mountain biomes until you find a few towers. Now, in these towers, sometimes you will find the small stone that you're already familiar with that will give you the location of MODER. Now, the one that I found had also some draugrs inside. Now, most of the times these towers were either empty or inhabited with skeletons, but only the one that revealed the location of MODER's summoning altar actually had some draugr inside. To help you out with his location, you can just visit my seed in the bottom left corner right now. And here are the 2 locations that you just need to know. So here is the spawn point, and on the other side in the northeast corner, you will find MODER's sacrificial altar. To summon him, you just need to bring 3 dragon eggs that you can find in different nests all over this mountain biomes. You will probably already have found them. You can see them from pretty far because they have this giant purple glow. They weigh about 200 kilograms each and they cannot be teleported, but I still just pick them up and I switch to another server where I place them in a chest. And once you're at your sacrificial altar, you just switch back to that server. You take the 3 eggs, even over uncumbered, you can just switch servers and then just drop them immediately in there. Now, the fight with MODER himself is pretty much not that hard. Now, the most important thing is that I personally forgot was just clear the area. Now, I cleared the entire area. I was making sure that there were no drakes, no wolves and stuff like that, but I missed a stone elemental, and that way I had to be killing MODER and kiting the stone elemental the entire time, which was not ideal. Besides clearing the area, you will just need full silver armor because he hits quite hard. You will also need some multiple bows. Now I had the Draugr Fang and the Huntsman bow with me, but if you just bring one bow and a workstation to repair it, that can also work. But just be careful with him because his attacks will destroy a lot of buildings. Now his 3 attacks are actually divided over his 2 phases. Now he has a grounded phase and he has a flying phase. In his grounded phase he has 2 attacks, which is a sweep, and the second one is a breath attack. Now his breath attack will freeze you if you're getting hit and will slow you down, which in my case was really bad when your stone elemental is also chasing you in the meantime. While she's flying up in the air, she will fire some projectiles that look like crystals, white crystals, and they will later explode. Now these hit for a lot. MODER has some really easily dodgeable attacks, but they hit very much. Now the biggest problem that I had personally is because of the terrain. Now the mountains, there is never a really big open space and you can't really lure MODER into an open area. She will kind of stay really close to her altar. You can just bring a hoe and just flatten the area, which is in hindsight probably something I should have done. But because of her size, MODER can also not really navigate the rough terrain very well, and so that way she can sometimes get kind of stuck in her grounded phase and just give you an opportunity to attack her. Now I both use the poison arrows and the obsidian arrows. You can also bring the fire arrows, but honestly, going melee is never really an option because she just hits way too hard. You should always be using your bow, but because you're going to be burning through bow really easily, you should really bring either a second one like I did, or just have some kind of workstation close by, or a portal to your base. But just as I said, be really careful with those things because she is going to destroy them really easily with her giant AoE attacks. MODER isn't the worst bosses in my opinion, but the terrain really is the biggest enemy in my opinion. Once you've successfully killed her, you will get 2 different rewards. First off, you will get 10 dragon tears that you can use to craft the artisan table, which is going to be a new workbench, and that's going to be unlocking the black metal. In return for her trophy, you will get also access to the 4th skill. Now, the granted Forsaken ability is basically always tailwind while sailing. What it basically means is when you activate it, you will always have the wind in your back while sailing. That way, it just makes it a lot easier to travel at a decent speed through the sea, which makes this probably my second favorite skill after Eikthirs. But anyway, guys, that was it for this guide. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.